Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. With just 13 days to go before America votes, emails obtained by Fox News show our nation's top leaders were aware terrorists were taking credit for attacking the U.S. mission in Libya the very day it happened. And while the White House is now saying there was still confusion, there are new questions about what could have been done in those early hours as the attack was still ongoing. We have Fox team coverage tonight. National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin looks at the trail of information and the response or lack of it. But we begin with Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry on those emails, the explanations, and the election. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Brett. The White House wanted the focus today to be on the president's marathon get out the vote push, but these new emails are raising new questions about who knew what when over Benghazi.
We're going to pull an all-nighter.
6 battlegrounds in 48 hours, a schedule so jam-packed, it's the surest sign yet President Obama's campaign knows they've lost momentum and are trying to seize it back, with a final pitch that includes the claim al-Qaeda is on the run.
Al-Qaeda's on the path to defeat, and Osama bin Laden is dead. I kept that promise.
Yet new emails about the terror attack in Benghazi, first obtained by Fox News, reveal on the day of the assault, top White House officials knew that al-Qaeda-tied group Ansar al-Sharia had claimed responsibility, with one email sounding the alarm about the al-Qaeda-tied group by saying, quote, Embassy Tripoli reports the group claimed responsibility on Facebook and Twitter and has called for an attack on Embassy Tripoli. And just hours after the emails came in, the president suggested to CBS News the attack was not just random mob violence. In a clip the network did not immediately air.
You're right that this is not a situation that was exactly the same as what happened in Egypt. My suspicion is that there are folks involved in this who were looking to target Americans from the start.
Raising questions about why U.S. Ambassador to the UN Susan Rice claimed it was a spontaneous reaction to protests over an anti-Islam film, as well as this claim by White House spokesman Jay Carney on September 18th.
Our initial information, and that includes all information, we saw no evidence to back up claims by others that this was a pre-planned or premeditated attack. We saw evidence that it was sparked by the reaction to this video.
Today, Carney downplayed the emails, noting they include non-classified information culled from social media sites, telling reporters aboard Air Force One,
I and others made very clear that our preliminary assessments were preliminary, that an investigation was underway, and that as more facts became available, we would make the American people aware of them.
And today, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton backed up the White House account.
Posting something on Facebook is not, in and of itself, evidence. And I think it just underscores how fluid the reporting was at the time and continued for some time to be.
Carney added the al-Qaeda-affiliated group later claimed it was not involved in the attack, though the top Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee tells Fox the only suspect now in custody in the terror attack is a member of that group. He's described as a suspected participant and not a commander of the assault.
We don't know very much about him because we have not been able to have access to him, and that's one of the problems with the policy of this administration.
All of this playing out as the president, in what he's calling a 48-hour marathon, is making trust the central issue of the final days.
There's no more serious issue on a presidential campaign than trust. Trust matters.
Now, today, 3 Republican senators, McCain, Graham, and Ayotte, fired off a letter to the president saying they're disturbed that the White House knew it might be terror within 2 hours of the attack. They're demanding the president finally come forward and directly address the American people about Benghazi with a speech or a news conference. Brett?
And Ed, just to be clear, the White House Press Secretary Jay Carney said, I think within a few hours, the organization itself, Ansar al-Sharia, claimed it had not been responsible. But again, Ali Ani al-Harazi is being held by Tunisian authorities. He, as we heard from Saxby Chambliss, is tied to Ansar al-Sharia.
That's right, and Senator Chambliss is saying this is the only person who is in custody, and in fact he is tied to that al-Qaeda affiliated group. So the bottom line is that while there were conflicting reports about whether or not the group was claiming responsibility for a terror attack, someone connected to that group is now in custody related to this terror attack, Brett.
The only one. Ed, thank you. The attack on the consulate in Libya triggered a wide array of moves by the Pentagon, but help never arrived, and 4 Americans, as you heard, including the U.S. ambassador, were killed. National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin looks at that part of the story.
Shortly after the attack began, an unarmed U.S. Predator drone was positioned over Benghazi. 6 hours and 20 minutes after the attack started, former SEALs Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty were killed at the CIA annex a mile from the consulate by a mortar shell at 4 a.m. local time. The president met his defense secretary and vice president in the Oval Office within an hour of the attack's onset. The Pentagon began moving military assets. 8 special operators were sent from Tripoli. A fast team of Marines from Rota, Spain were sent to guard the embassy but remained in the capital. A special operations force was moved from Central Europe to Sigonella Air Base in southern Italy, just 480 miles from Benghazi. F-16s and Apache helicopters remain parked and unused at Aviano Air Base in northern Italy. 2 Navy destroyers already in the Mediterranean were moved off the coast of Libya on the day of the attack, but were never used. Some former defense officials say it was too little, too late.
For the United States military to say that they were 480 miles away and they couldn't do anything and they couldn't move 1 aircraft in 8 hours, I'd say it's time to relieve a lot of people in the chain of command, but I just don't believe that.
U.S. officials argue strafing the streets of Benghazi without a clear intelligence picture on the ground could have led to friendly fire. They also feared an ambush.
It's not as easy as people think. It's not as it's displayed in Hollywood on this movie Thing 24, where it's all very matter of fact and it's picked up and done. Quite frankly, they're as concerned about those who they are sending there and having harm come to them as they are about those who are already there under duress.
The fighting at the consulate was over within 1 hour, according to the recently leaked State Department emails obtained by Fox News.
Officials in Washington reading those cables may have thought the attack was over. Now they know that it was a 2-pronged assault on 2 separate locations that lasted more than 6 hours. Brett.
Jennifer Griffin live at the Pentagon. Jennifer, thank you.